Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's video. I hope you enjoy it, and please tell me in the comments if you like the tone of my voice, or if I should make any changes. Thank you. Now, the story begins. Chapter 1. Dawn on the Sacred Waters. You wake to the soft rustle of reeds around your canoe. The morning light filters through woven tule walls, casting golden patterns that dance and sway like gentle waves upon the sacred waters of Lake Texcoco. Your bed is simple, woven from the finest petate mats, made from tule rushes that grow wild in the shallow waters. These same rushes have cradled Aztec sleepers for countless generations, their natural fibers breathing with the rhythm of the lake, expanding, contracting, like the slow heartbeat of the earth itself. You stretch slowly, feeling the cool morning air brush against your skin. The reed hut creaks softly, a lullaby of natural fibers and lake-soaked wood. This floating home sways gently with the water's movement, connected to the great lake that surrounds the island city of Tenochtitlan, the jewel of the Aztec Empire. Through the window opening, you see the canal stretching like a mirror, reflecting the pale morning sky. Willow trees line the water's edge, their graceful branches trailing in the current, creating curtains of green that filter the early light. The sound they make is like whispered prayers, soft, rhythmic, eternal. The walls around you are built from tule reeds, bundled tight and lashed together with fiber from the maguey plant. These walls have sheltered your people for over 200 years, since the Mexica first arrived in this valley, since they learned to make homes that float, that breathe, that move with the natural rhythms of water and wind. You sit up slowly, your feet touching the floor of polished pine planks, cool, smooth, cut from trees that grew in the mountains surrounding this valley. These mountains cradle Lake Texcoco like protective hands. A waterbird calls in the distance, perhaps a great blue heron, its voice echoing across the lake. The sound carries the wisdom of creatures who have lived here since before humans arrived, who remember when this valley was wilderness, when the lake was home only to fish, frogs, water insects, and the dreams of the gods. Your servant approaches quietly, her huarache sandals silent on the wooden floor. She carries a clay basin painted with intricate patterns in blue and red, colors sacred to Tlaloc, the rain god who blesses these waters, who sends the storms that fill the canals, who makes possible this floating paradise. The water in the basin is warm, heated by stones from the small fire that burns always in the corner. Fed with charcoal made from oak trees, wood that burns clean and long, leaving ash that enriches the soil of the Chinampas. Nothing wasted, everything flowing in circles, as the gods intended. "Good morning, wise healer," she whispers, her voice soft as morning mist. The water is ready. The farmers are already tending their gardens. And the day awaits your gentle wisdom. Like flowers waiting for the touch of rain, you nod slowly, feeling no urgency, no haste. Time moves differently here on the floating gardens, like honey flowing from a clay jar. Slow, sweet, golden. The Aztecs understand that true wealth lies not in rushing, but in the patient rhythm of planting, growing, harvesting, resting. The water touches your face, cool and blessed. Each drop carries the essence of the sacred lake, water that has flowed from mountain springs through underground rivers, across vast distances to reach this valley, to sustain this miracle of human ingenuity, this floating city that seems to defy the very laws of earth and water. You dry your face with cotton cloth, soft as cloud, white as morning mist. This cotton grew in the warm lands to the south, was spun by skilled hands, woven on backstrap looms that create fabric finer than silk, traded along paths that connect mountain to sea, city to countryside, in the great web of commerce that sustains the empire. Your morning robe is simple, undyed cotton that hangs loose and flowing, allowing the air to circulate, to cool your skin. The Aztecs understand that clothing should work with the body, not against it, should protect without constraining, should honor the wearer while respecting the materials, the labor, the sacred act of creation that brings all things into being. You step outside onto the wooden platform that extends over the canal. The wood is smooth, worn by countless footsteps, polished by the gentle spray of lake water. It gives slightly under your weight, alive, responsive, part of the living architecture that makes this floating world possible. The canal stretches before you, lined with chinampas, the floating gardens that are the pride of the Aztec Empire. Each one a perfect rectangle, precisely measured, carefully maintained, a testament to human ingenuity, to the ability to work with nature rather than against it, to create abundance where others see only water and mud. Fish move beneath the surface, carp and whitefish, their silver bodies catching the early light, following patterns older than memory, older than the city itself. These fish have fed your people through droughts, through floods, through the countless cycles of abundance and scarcity that mark the passage of time. You hear voices in the distance, the farmers beginning their daily work. Their words float across the water like music, Nahuatl mixed with the older languages of the valley, languages layering like sediment in the lake bed, building meaning upon meaning, memory upon memory, generation upon generation. A wooden canoe glides into view, pushed by a long pole in skilled hands. The farmer stands gracefully, his movements practiced, efficient, beautiful. He has been navigating these canals since childhood, learning from his father, carrying forward knowledge that reaches back to the first chinampas, the first floating gardens created by ancestors who understood the secret of making earth float upon water. The canoe carries morning treasures, baskets of vegetables grown in the fertile mud of the lake bed, tomatoes red as sunset, beans climbing tall poles, squash spreading their broad leaves, corn reaching toward the sky. The sacred trilogy that forms the foundation of Aztec cuisine, of Aztec life, of the compact between humans and the gods who provide all nourishment. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with morning air. It carries the scent of water, of growing plants, of wood smoke from cooking fires, of the copal incense that rises from temples throughout the city, all blending into the unique fragrance of Tenochtitlan, a scent like nowhere else on earth. Your breakfast waits on a low wooden table, simple foods that connect you to the lake, to the farmers, to the endless cycle of growth and harvest that sustains all life. Fresh tortillas, still warm from the comal, made from corn soaked in lime water, ground on metates of volcanic stone, shaped by hands that learned the ancient rhythm, the patient process that transforms hard kernels into soft sustenance. Cacao beans roasted to perfection, browned with cinnamon and honey, the drink of nobles, of priests, of those who commune with the gods. Each sip connecting you to the tropical forests where cacao trees grow, to the merchants who risk their lives carrying these precious beans along mountain paths, to the complex trade networks that bring the world's treasures to your floating city. Fresh fish, caught at dawn in nets woven from agave fiber, cooked simply over charcoal, seasoned with herbs that grow wild along the canal banks. The flesh flakes easily, tastes of clean water, of the lake's generous abundance, of the partnership between human skill and natural provision. Amaranth seeds, tiny as pinheads, nutritious as meat, mixed with honey, formed into small cakes that provide energy for long days of healing work. These seeds were considered so sacred that they were used to make images of gods, so valuable that they served as tribute, payment for the complex administration that keeps the empire functioning. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, feeling the food become part of your body, your strength, your capacity to heal, to serve, to carry forward the ancient wisdom of plant medicine. Each meal a communion, a grateful acknowledgement of the web of relationships that makes life possible. The sun rises higher, warming the air, making the water shimmer with reflected light. Everything glows with gentle radiance. The temples of Tenochtitlan rise in the distance, their stepped pyramids reaching toward the heavens, their walls painted in colors that speak of power, of devotion, of the human desire to create beauty that honors the gods. A dragonfly lands on your hand, its wings transparent as crystal, iridescent as polished obsidian. It rests for a moment, part of the great web of life that includes insects, birds, fish, plants, humans, all dependent on each other, all part of the same living system that the Aztecs call the flowering earth. You stand slowly, ready to begin your day's work, your calling as a healer, a keeper of plant wisdom, a bridge between the human world and the green world of growing medicine. Your knowledge comes from years of study, from teachers who learned from their teachers, in an unbroken chain that reaches back to the first humans who discovered that plants could heal, could ease pain, could restore balance to bodies and souls. Your canoe waits, carved from a single cypress log, polished smooth by use, decorated with simple patterns that honor the tree's sacrifice, the craftsman's skill, the partnership between human need and forest generosity. It rocks gently in the water, eager to carry you to the floating gardens, to the farmers who depend on your knowledge, your healing presence, your connection to the plant spirits that guide all true medicine. The wooden paddle feels familiar in your hands, worn smooth by countless journeys, balanced perfectly for long days on the water. You push off from the platform, feeling the canoe respond, becoming part of the water's movement, part of the great circulation system that connects canal to canal, garden to garden, in the vast network of waterways that is the circulatory system of this floating civilization. You paddle slowly, in rhythm with your breathing, with your heartbeat, with the gentle lapping of water against the canoe's sides. Each stroke moves you deeper into the maze of canals, deeper into the heart of the Chinampas, where the real magic happens, where human intelligence and natural abundance create miracles of productivity, of beauty, of your eyelids grow heavy with contentment. The gentle sounds of morning wrap around you like a soft blanket. Water lapping against chinampas, reeds rustling in the breeze, the distant calls of farmers greeting the new day, all blending into one great song of awakening, of life beginning another cycle, another day of growth, of service, of the slow accumulation of moments that builds a life, a civilization, a relationship with the sacred that honors both human need and natural abundance. The canoe moves through water that reflects the morning sky, carrying you toward the gardens where your healing work waits, where farmers tend plants with the patience of those who understand deep time, who know that the best things cannot be hurried, cannot be forced, only nurtured, only blessed with attention, with respect, with the kind of love that asks nothing in return. You drift, consciousness floating like your canoe on the sacred waters, rocking gently in the rhythm of the lake's breathing, in the pulse of the earth's heartbeat, in the greater circulation that connects all water, all blood, all sap flowing through the veins of trees, all part of one great living system that dreams in the language of seasons, that speaks in the whispered voices of wind through reeds, that teaches patience, teaches presence, teaches the deep rest that comes from knowing your place in the web of life. The floating gardens await, like floating dreams made manifest, like promises kept by ancestors who learned to work with water instead of against it, who understood that the greatest achievements come not from conquest, but from partnership, from listening, from the humble willingness to learn from lake, from plant, from the wisdom that flows like water, always seeking the lowest place, always nourishing, always giving, always returning to the source that gives life to all things. Chapter 2. The Wisdom of Floating Earth. Your canoe glides between the chinampas, these miraculous floating gardens that seem to defy the laws of earth and water. Each garden is a perfect rectangle. The gardens rest on foundations of mud, dredged from the lake bottom during the dry season, layered with aquatic vegetation, with decaying plants, with the patient accumulation of seasons. This creates soil richer than any land-based farm, soil that breathes with the water, that never grows tired, never exhausted, always renewed by the lake's generous circulation. Willow trees mark the corners of each chinampa, their roots growing deep into the lake bed, anchoring the floating gardens against storms, against the gentle current. Their branches provide shade, material for baskets, medicine for those who know the old healing ways, everything connected, everything serving multiple purposes, nothing wasted in this perfect marriage of human intelligence and natural abundance. You guide your canoe to the nearest garden, where an elderly farmer tends rows of green vegetables. His movements are careful, respectful, each gesture showing the reverence of one who understands that he is partnering with forces larger than himself. He looks up as you approach, his face creasing into a smile that speaks of years spent in communion with growing things. "Welcome, healer," he says softly, his voice carrying the warmth of one who has learned patience from plants, wisdom from water. The gardens, you step from your canoe onto the garden's edge, feeling the slight give of the floating earth. The way it responds to weight, to movement, alive, in a way that solid ground never is. This is soil that breathes, that participates in its own fertility, that demonstrates the Aztec understanding that the earth is not dead matter but living spirit, participating consciousness, sacred partner in the dance of growth and harvest. The farmer leads you between perfectly straight rows, paths just wide enough for a person to walk. Every space utilized, optimized, respected. The Aztecs understand that this floating soil is precious beyond gold, beyond quetzal feathers, beyond all the treasures that other peoples value. This soil feeds 1 million people, makes possible a civilization that seems to float on water like a dream made manifest. See here, he whispers, kneeling beside a tomato plant, his fingers gentle on leaves that show slight yellowing. The plant speaks of sadness, of some imbalance in its world. I have listened, but I do not understand its language as clearly as you do. You who have studied with the plant teachers, who know their secret names, their hidden needs. You examine the leaves carefully, running your fingers along their surface, feeling for the subtle signs that speak of soil nutrients, water balance, the complex chemistry that keeps plants healthy. The yellowing speaks of nitrogen deficiency, easily corrected, a simple matter of adding fish bones to the soil, or leaves from nitrogen-fixing beans grown nearby. The plant is hungry, you explain, your voice gentle, educational, not for food as we understand it, but for one particular medicine that it needs to make its green blood. We call this medicine nitrogen. The plant calls it the gift of rain, of thunder, of the lightning that writes sacred messages in the sky. The farmer nods, understanding, flowing across his features like sunrise. He has observed this yellowing before, has seen how certain treatments restore the deep green, the vigorous growth. But now he understands the why behind the what, the principle that will guide him in future seasons. With different plants, different challenges, you reach into your healing pouch, woven from cotton and decorated with symbols of growing things. Inside are small clay containers, each holding a different medicine, a different solution to the problems that affect floating gardens. This is preventive healing, the kind that maintains balance rather than fighting disease, that works with natural processes rather than against them. Fish bones, you say, showing him the powder ground fine as cornmeal. From the morning catch, cleaned and dried, ground on the metate until it becomes food for plants, rich in the nitrogen medicine, the gift that will restore your tomatoes to full health, full greenness, full productivity. The farmer watches as you sprinkle the bone meal around the base of each plant, mixing it gently into the rich black soil. The chinampa's dirt is so fertile, so alive with beneficial organisms that improvements show within days, sometimes hours. The plants here have access to nutrients that land-based crops never see, waterborne minerals, organic matter that accumulates in the lake's natural cycles. The secret of chinampa farming, you continue, moving to examine bean plants that climb tall poles cut from nearby forests, is to think like water, to understand that everything flows, everything connects. The fish provide nitrogen for plants. Plants provide habitat for fish. Humans provide tending for plants and fish. Plants and fish provide food for humans. Nothing linear, everything circular, everything returning to its source enriched. A young woman appears from behind a screen of cornstalks, each plant reaching toward the sky like green prayers, like living ladders connecting earth to heavens. She carries a basket woven from tule reeds, filled with produce that seems to glow with inner vitality. Vegetables grown in soil blessed by sacred waters, tended with knowledge passed down through generations of master farmers. The herbs you requested, she says, her voice musical with the accent of the lake region, where Nahuatl takes on the liquid rhythms of water, of wind through reeds. Picked at dawn when the plant spirits are strongest, when the dew carries messages between earth and sky, when the medicines are most potent, most willing to share their healing gifts. She shows you epazote, the pungent herb that prevents digestive problems when eating beans. Its leaves are serrated, aromatic, powerful. Each plant, a pharmacy, a collection of chemical compounds that evolution has refined over millions of years, that indigenous healers have learned to use through thousands of years of patient observation, careful experimentation. Hierba buena, what others call spearmint, grows wild along canal edges. Its cool fragrance speaks of digestive peace, of stomachs settled, of the gentle healing that works through pleasure rather than punishment, through harmony rather than force. The plant offers its medicine freely, asking only for respectful harvest, grateful use, seeds scattered to ensure future generations. Chia seeds, tiny powerhouses of nutrition, grown in plots dedicated to this sacred plant. These seeds sustained Aztec runners across vast distances, provided complete nutrition during religious fasts, contained all the essential elements needed for human health. The farmers call them the seeds that remember, for they carry within their small bodies the wisdom of perfect nutrition, the knowledge of what human bodies truly need. The morning harvest is especially blessed, the young woman explains, showing you tomatoes still cool from the night air, their skin taut, their color perfect. Picked when the plants are full of water, when the fruits carry the maximum life force, when the connection between plant and fruit is strongest, most willing to share its essence with those who will eat with gratitude. You accept the herbs, feeling their vitality, their willingness to serve. Each plant a teacher, a partner in the work of healing, of maintaining balance in human bodies, human communities, human relationships with the more than human world. Your training taught you to see plants not as objects to be used, but as persons to be consulted, partners in the ancient collaboration between human need and botanical generosity. A dragonfly hovers over the canal, its wings catching light like stained glass, like fragments of rainbow made solid. It darts between the chinampas, following invisible currents, chasing insects too small to see. Part of the complex web of relationships that keeps the floating gardens healthy, that controls pests, that maintains balance without human intervention. The farmer shows you his corn, the sacred plants that form the foundation of Aztec civilization, each stalk perfect, each ear developing properly. The corn here grows taller than land-based varieties, fed by the rich nutrients that flow through the canal system, protected from drought by its access to endless water, from flood by its floating foundation that rises and falls with the lake level. Our ancestors learned to make corn from wild grass, the farmer says, his voice carrying the reverence of one who understands the magnitude of. You examine the corn plants, their leaves broad and green, their roots extending down through the chinampa soil into the water below. These plants have access to both soil nutrients and water minerals, to the complex chemistry that makes the floating gardens more productive than any land-based agriculture, capable of feeding more people per unit of space than any other farming system in the world. The sun climbs higher, warming the air, making the water shimmer between the gardens. You can see the city of Tenochtitlan in the distance, its temples and palaces rising from the lake like a vision, like a dream of what humans can accomplish when they work with nature instead of against it, when they understand that true wealth comes from sustainability, from harmony, from systems that can continue indefinitely. A fish breaks the surface, sending circles spreading across the water. The canals teem with life, with carp and whitefish, with frogs and water insects, with countless microscopic organisms that keep the water clean, that process nutrients, that maintain the complex chemistry needed for this floating paradise to function. Everything interconnected, everything depending on everything else. The fish are our partners, the young woman explains, watching the circles expand. They eat mosquito larvae, they provide fertilizer, they give us protein. They keep the water moving, oxygenated, alive. Without the fish, the gardens would fail. Without the gardens, the fish would starve. Together, they create abundance that neither could achieve alone. You help harvest beans, feeling their firm pods, their perfect readiness. Each plant gives generously, producing far more than needed for its own reproduction. This generosity, built into the very nature of life, the tendency for abundance when conditions are right, when systems are in balance, when human intelligence works with natural principles rather than against them. The beans will be dried, stored in clay jars, providing protein through the months when fresh vegetables are scarce. They will also be ground into flour, cooked into nutritious broths, fermented into drinks that aid digestion. Every part used, nothing wasted, everything flowing in the circular patterns that characterize sustainable cultures. A breeze stirs the water, rustling the corn leaves, making music that has accompanied Aztec farmers for centuries. The sound is peaceful, hypnotic, natural. It speaks of wind and water working together, of the partnership between moving air and floating earth that makes the chinampas possible. That creates the microclimate needed for year-round growing. For the 3 harvests annually that feed the greatest city in the Americas. The farmer offers you fresh water, wool from clay jars that sit in the shade of willow trees. The water tastes clean, pure, filtered through layers of sand and charcoal, blessed by the ceremonies that honor Chalchutlicue, the goddess of rivers, of lakes, of all flowing water that makes life possible in this valley surrounded by mountains. Rest, he says, his voice gentle as lapping water. Let the plants work their quiet magic. Let the gardens share their peace. You carry heavy responsibilities, healing the sick, teaching the healing arts, maintaining the balance between human needs and plant wisdom. Even healers need healing. Even teachers need teaching. Even those who give constantly need receiving. You settle on a woven mat beneath a willow tree, its branches creating a natural pavilion, a green sanctuary where light filters through leaves like blessings, like prayers made visible. The mat is woven from tule reeds, the same plants that surround you, that made possible this floating world, that demonstrate the Aztec genius for working with available materials, for seeing potential where others see only weeds. Your eyelids grow heavy with contentment. The gentle sounds of the floating gardens wrap around you like a lullaby. Water lapping against chinantha edges, corn leaves rustling in the breeze, the distant calls of farmers tending their floating paradise, all blending into one great song of human ingenuity, of partnership with nature, of the sustainable abundance that comes when intelligence serves wisdom, when innovation honors tradition. The afternoon light grows golden, soft, forgiving. Everything glows with inner radiance. The vegetables growing in perfect rows, the water reflecting sky and clouds, the faces of farmers who have learned to work with time instead of against it, who understand that the best things cannot be hurried, cannot be forced, only nurtured with patience, with respect, with love. You drift, consciousness floating, like the gardens themselves, suspended between earth and water, rising and falling with the water's rhythm, demonstrating the flexibility that makes survival possible, the willingness to move with changing conditions. to adapt without losing essential character, to remain rooted while staying fluid. The greatest lesson of the floating gardens, the secret of their success, the wisdom they offer to all who have eyes to see, ears to hear, hearts open to learning. Chapter 3. The Evening's Gentle Medicine. The sun begins its descent toward the western mountains, painting the sky in shades of coral and gold, reflecting on the water in long ribbons of light. You paddle your canoe slowly through the network of canals, carrying with you the herbs gathered from the floating gardens, the wisdom shared by farmers who understand the secret partnership between human hands and natural abundance. Each stroke of the paddle moves you deeper into the heart of the Chinampa district, where the evening's work awaits, where healing happens in the gentle rhythm of plant and preparation. Smoke rises from a distant hut, thin and white, carrying the scent of burning copal, the sacred resin that connects earth to sky, human prayers to divine listening. This is the home of Itzel, the elder medicine woman who has taught you the deepest secrets of plant healing, who learned from her grandmother, who learned from hers, in an unbroken chain of wisdom stretching back to the first humans who discovered that plants hold medicine, that nature provides everything needed for healing, for balance, for the restoration of harmony between body and soul. You tie your canoe to a wooden post driven deep into the lake bed, feeling the gentle sway as the craft settles into stillness. The water here is deeper, clearer, filled with fish that rise to investigate, their curiosity innocent, trusting, part of the peaceful web of relationships that makes this floating world possible. The path to Itzel's hut is made of wooden planks, worn smooth by countless healers, countless patients who have come seeking the gentle medicine of plant wisdom. Each board tells stories through its weathered grain, its darkened knots, its patient acceptance of foot after foot, season after season, of serving the community's need for passage, for connection, for the bridges that link healing to those who need it. Itzel emerges from her doorway, moving with the fluid grace of one who has learned to flow like water, to bend like willow branches, to endure like the deep roots that anchor floating gardens. Her hair is white as morning mist, her hands steady despite her years, marked by decades of plant preparation, of gentle service, of the patient alchemy that transforms raw herbs into healing medicine. "Welcome, child of the plants," she says, her voice carrying the warmth of banked coals, the wisdom of embers that glow long after flames have died. "I have been preparing for your visit. The evening spirits whispered of your coming, told me to ready the fire, to warm the water, to open the containers that hold our deepest medicines." You follow her into the hut, your arms full of the day's harvest, herbs that seem to pulse with life force, with the concentrated sunlight, the absorbed nutrients, the patient accumulation of healing compounds that plants create through the slow alchemy of growth. Each plant a pharmacy, a collection of medicines evolved over millions of years, refined by countless generations of use. The interior glows with soft light, oil lamps burning sesame oil, their flames steady, hypnotic, casting dancing shadows on walls hung with bundles of drying herbs. Each bundle represents knowledge, represents healing potential, represents the partnership between human wisdom and plant generosity that has sustained indigenous peoples for thousands of years. "Show me what the gardens have given us today," Itzel says, settling beside a low table covered with clay bowls, grinding stones, wooden implements carved smooth by generations of use, each tool perfect for its purpose, shaped by experience, by the accumulated wisdom of countless preparations, countless healings, countless moments of transformation. You spread the day's harvest on woven mats, each plant perfect in its timing, its potency, its willingness to serve. The epizode releases its pungent fragrance, speaking of digestive healing, of stomachs calmed, of the gentle relief that comes when the body's chemistry finds balance, when inflammation subsides, when peace returns to troubled organs. The Hierba Buena glows green in the lamplight, its leaves releasing cool mint fragrance with each touch. This plant speaks of nervous systems soothed, of tension released, of the deep relaxation that allows the body's own healing wisdom to emerge, to function, to restore health from within rather than being imposed from without. Chia seeds rattle softly in their container, tiny powerhouses of nutrition, each seed containing complete proteins, essential oils, the building blocks of cellular repair. These seeds sustained Aztec warriors on long journeys, provided complete nutrition during religious fasts, demonstrated nature's ability to pack immense vitality into the smallest packages. Tonight, we prepare the evening tea, Itzel explains, her hands moving among clay jars that line the walls, each one labeled with symbols that represent different plants, different uses, different aspects of the healing arts. The tea that helps our people transition from day's work to night's rest, that calms the busy mind, that invites the deep sleep that heals all wounds, restores all strength. She opens the first jar, releasing the fragrance of dried chamomile flowers, manzanilla, the little apple, named for its sweet scent that speaks of peaceful sleep, of dreams that heal rather than disturb, of the gentle sedation that comes from nature rather than force. This flower has been blessing human sleep for thousands of years, offering its gifts freely, asking only for respectful harvest, grateful use. The second jar holds linden flowers, pale and delicate, carrying within their tissue the compounds that speak directly to the nervous system, that whisper to racing thoughts, that invite the kind of letting go that allows true rest. These flowers fall like snow from the linden trees that grow along the lakeshore, their timing perfect, their medicine potent, their gift generous. Each plant has its own voice. Itzel explains, measuring flowers with her cupped palm, a measurement perfected through decades of preparation, of learning how much is enough, how much is too much, how much serves healing without overwhelming. We must listen carefully, respect their wisdom, never demand what they do not wish to give, never take more than they offer freely. Water warms in a clay pot over the small fire, heated slowly, gently, allowing time for the proper temperature, for the patient extraction that cannot be hurried. The pot is made from clay gathered from sacred deposits, shaped by hands that understand the marriage of earth and fire, decorated with symbols that honor the plant spirits, the water spirits, the fire spirits that make healing possible. Steam begins to rise, carrying with it the first whispers of transformation, the slow alchemy that turns simple water into medicine, that activates the sleeping compounds within dried plants, that awakens the healing potential that rests dormant until called forth by proper preparation, proper intention, proper respect for the process of transformation. The secret of good medicine. Itzel continues, adding the measured flowers to the warming water, lies not in the rushing, not in the impatience to see results, but in the allowing, in giving the plants time to share their deepest wisdom, to release what they have stored through months of growing, of gathering light, of concentrating healing into leaf and flower and seed. A cat appears from the shadows, sleek and black, moving with the fluid grace that teaches humans about presence, about accepting each moment as it comes, about living in the eternal now where healing happens, where transformation occurs, where the boundaries between human and animal, between domestic and wild, dissolve into the greater unity that underlies all life. You sort through the remaining herbs, separating seeds from stems, flowers from leaves, each part having its own medicine, its own proper use, its own timing for harvest and preparation. The work is meditative, rhythmic, connecting you to generations of healers who have performed these same actions, who have learned these same lessons, who have served the same calling to maintain balance between human need and plant wisdom. The water deepens in color, taking on the golden hue of extracted medicine, of plant essences liberated from their physical forms, transformed into liquid wisdom that can be absorbed, assimilated, carried through the bloodstream to every cell that needs healing, every organ that needs balance, every system that needs harmonizing. My grandmother taught me this recipe, Itzel says, her eyes reflecting the lamplight like pools of accumulated wisdom. She learned it from her grandmother, who received it in dreams, who was instructed by the plant spirits themselves in the proper proportions, the correct timing, the sacred words that must be spoken to awaken the medicine's full potential. The fragrance fills the hut, sweet, calming, hypnotic, carrying with it the promise of peace, of rest, of the deep sleep that allows the body to repair itself, the mind to process the day's experiences, the spirit to commune with the dream world where healing happens, where solutions appear, where wisdom flows like underground rivers, always present, always available to those who know how to listen. A gentle breeze stirs the lake, lapping water against the hut's foundation, creating the soft rhythm that has lulled countless generations to sleep. The sound is primal, comforting, connecting you to the deepest memories, to the time before birth when you floated in your mother's waters, suspended, supported, completely safe, completely nourished, completely at peace. The plants are pleased with today's harvest, Itzel observes, straining the tea through cloth woven from cotton, grown in the warm valleys to the south. They gave themselves willingly, at the perfect moment, when their medicine was strongest, when their desire to serve was highest. This tea will carry their blessing, their healing intention, their love for the humans who have cared for them, protected them, honored their sacred nature. The finished tea glows in clay cups, each one shaped by hands that understand the importance of beautiful vessels. Good night, all. Don't forget, like and sub.